Red Square Live, the United show for Reds everywhere, discussing all the topics of the day, the match analysis, and chatting to a former United great.
Yes, now speaking of former United greats, you have been sending in your questions, comments, thoughts and opinions, which I am going to be putting to him and to Pete later in today's show. I'm also going to be going out into our studio audience. I'm going to be taking questions from these guys, and we've also got competition, so stay tuned for details of that later. Pete?
We have a former United great, so we've been asking people out there what you think of our former United great, who is of course David May, superstar.
Oh, he was a brilliant player, so he was. He was somebody that came in, did a job from Blackburn, very reliable defender, you could always count on him.
He was bought, not on a whim, but he was bought for a specific purpose.
Defence, yeah.
Same issue as
we've got now, yeah.
So where is that David May now? Where is the young David May?
Local lad, steady way defender, underrated.
I think he did all right. He put in his stint in the club and he did well. He covered his position and we could do with him now.
Just looking forward to having a local lad on the show, hearing some of his memories and his thoughts on United now and some of the memories of the past, really.
Yeah, being local lads, came from Blackburn. When he joined us, he won everything, and you see how much he loved the club by how much he was celebrating during the European Cup.
My favourite iconic moment is the European Cup, in making sure that he got on that picture and making a meal of it.
Good memory of the celebration 1999.
He planned that.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
No, I read his book. He says, like, if he got a chance, he was going to make sure he made a good chance out of it. Yeah.
Damn right. You know, people mock John Terry for getting changed into his kit. That's because he's a knob.
The greatest one was the picture after they won the European Cup, like that.
He's a star man. That iconic image of him up over the team. And I was in Vietnam a little bit after, and that image was everywhere, all over Vietnam.
On top of all the players at the front of every celebration, he didn't even play, but he loved it.
99 on the picture, jumping up at the back.
That's everyone's, that, isn't it?
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he?
Well, let's introduce our special guest, David May. Driving a minibus down again.
I know, I've got on my mates.
So amazing, we won today. Back on form, or we were hanging on?
Probably hanging on a little bit towards the end.
How do you see it is? I mean, we seem to have so much confidence at 2-0, like at Leicester. And as soon as we get a bit of a setback, there's no sort of leader. It seems like the bottle's gone.
Well, I don't know when your leader gets sent off as well, so...
But even before that, when they scored the goal, you know, pulled it back straight away.
Well, that's when you need,
sort of
but that's when you need your characters, Pete. I don't think there's enough leaders out there right now. There's a lot of young kids out there as well. Lads who've just come into the squad. Di Maria, Falcao, Herrera, Blind. So there's plenty of kids there, players there who might not really know whether they should, you know, step up to the mark. But
talking of Falcao, I mean, what do you think of his performances so far, contribution-wise? Obviously, he's not scored yet.
I think he's done all right, to be fair. Obviously, he'd like a goal. He's come to score goals. But maybe, you know, with Wayne playing up there, Van Persie playing up there, maybe he's getting a little bit squeezed out, but, you know, he's got...
But surely at that price, he's going to be always getting the game. So how do you see it working out with Van Persie and Rooney?
Well, for the next 3 games now, Wayne's not going to be playing, is he? So he's going to be our main striker, probably.
As that quite an accomplished defender, well, at least when we go away to Norway, how do you feel about the defensive situation in terms of, like, again, letting Vidic go out?
I think we're all over the show, to be fair, Pete. I don't think there's a leader there, somebody who can organise the back four. And it doesn't help with the injuries, you know, he's swapping and changing all the time. And, you know, we get found out, and it could have been that way today.
I mean, injuries, I mean, you can have bad luck with injuries, but is it just bad luck to have that many injuries? Is it something we're not doing right in terms of preparing players? You know, I'm just throwing it out there, but I mean...
It might be. It might be the training. I spoke to somebody the other day who spoke about the intense training, what United do now, and what it was different to when, you know, Sir Alex was being the manager. Not that should change anything, because you do what you do in training, you do in games. So
you spoke about Blind before. Blind's been, you know, quite a bright spark so far, as has Herrera. But I mean, it was good to see Luke Shaw play today. But what is it with Luke Shaw? I mean, was it his fitness that was more than like an injury, but he didn't start sooner?
I just don't think it was. Well, only hearing stories what I've heard in Norway, when, you know, we heard the story about him in America where Van Gaal went over to the training session and just said, "Luke, you're training over there to get fit." He's just come back from the World Cup, so.
Did you ever like have that sort of thing yourself? Like, I mean, we saw like Paddy Kenny who puts about 8 stone on when he's out for 2 games. But I mean, at United, I mean, surely like the sort of coaching staff don't let you get that far, do you? I mean, what?
Well, coming back from the World Cup, you'd be fit from the World Cup anyway. You'd have what? 2 week off, 3 week off, and then you're back in training.
Was that when they were playing in the World Cup? England,
yeah.
2 or 3 weeks off. No, so but moving on, like obviously Liverpool have lost more league games than us this season, but the optimism at the start of the season, even before the transfer window, was sky high because of the pre-season we had with Van Gaal. And let's be honest, the Swansea game was a bit of a blip, wasn't it? A bit of a real back to reality. Picked up a bit then. QPR was quite exuberant, but last week Leicester, what was that about?
Quite sure, to be fair. Big Who's in the bar in Norway, weren't we? So.
Yeah, but we were analysing the game as well at the time, weren't we? No, but I mean, I personally see similarities between Leicester at 2-0 down, 2-0 up, and then they scored straight away. Yeah. Our battle went free.
I don't think it's a bottle. I don't think there's anyone there who organises to set the stall out. I mean, the 3-1 up.
I think Ben Foley's coming.
But I think at 3-1 up, you don't need to go and get 4, 5, 6. You can still be defensive, or you can still be tight at the back, but yet we're still bombing on, and that's where you get caught out.
But like Smalling and Evans, right? I mean, you a defender. You know, all footballers have a dip in form, right? But you know, even Valencia. But I mean, Johnny Evans came back so strong after that horrible day against City a few years ago, and he was quite consistent for a few years. He's getting a lot of stick of a lot of fans because the team's not doing well and we haven't got a leader. But what would you sort of say if you was a coaching man now to Evans and Smalling?
Just do your job. Just give the ball to Mata, to Herrera, to Blin, to Di Maria, and don't try doing anything fancy. Just be a defender and just defend. If your man scores, then it's your fault. That's a basic thing to say in football. But nowadays, they don't do that. They tend to be totally different. There's not many defenders out there. Vincent Kompany is a perfect example. Great defender, just does his job. And I think that's what we should get back to basics.
So do you think we need to, in January, get somebody, you know, obviously get someone who's a bit of a leader?
I just think from now till December or January, just defend, just keep 3 at the back. We just bomb our fullbacks on all the time. And it just leaves us bare ass all the time.
Do you think, like, bringing in like, you know, that Paddy McNary was in the squad today, and about Tyler Blackett, I mean, do you think those players like are United standard, or is it because we've had no choice? I mean, I personally do like them, and obviously Chucky said that he really did rate the ones coming through. I mean, but do you reckon it's a case of having to use them more than, you know?
Well, we're going to have to use them because there's nobody there, is there? You know, we've got 9 injuries, 2 suspensions, so we're going to have to use young kids. But I tell you what, Paddy did absolutely brilliant today. He really did. To say he came in and do the job he did, the way he did it, I mean, he made 1 header in the second half, which was absolutely unbelievable. And for a young kid to come in under so much pressure as well, you have to remember that. You know, he's making his debut.
What is it about confidence in terms of form? You know, spoke about Evans and Smalling, but Antonio Valencia, what was it, 3 years ago when he ripped Ashley Cole apart? And you know, people often say.
Well, then he got injured, and I think since his injury, he's never been the same. But I don't know who coaches him or whatever it is, but if I was a fullback behind him, I would just say, just run the fullback. He never ever takes anyone on, and he can't cross the ball.
That was the best part of his game, wasn't it? You know, roasting sort of the fullbacks, wasn't it?
Because he's probably one of the quickest players in the Premier League, but he never uses it.
Analysing the next sort of few games, obviously up until sort of Christmas, obviously the big tests are going to be like Chelsea and City. I mean, do you think we have to sort of get to that stage before we can see where the team is really?
I think that'll be the benchmark of where we need to get to, because I think the way Chelsea are playing, looking at the way we play, I can't see anything other than a Chelsea win, and I hate to say that, but the way that they play and the way we play, we're great going forward. We'll score goals, but we dodgy at the back.
Well, when we were watching the Chelsea City game, what we both sort of like were observing was that although Chelsea City have got creative and attacking players, they've also got the players in midfield who can actually get stuck in, hold the ball, you know, not be too pretty. And that's sometimes we're sort of lacking. I mean, there's been lots of talk that Mata might be sort of frozen out. I mean, how do you see the formation going with someone like Juan Mata?
I mean, he's scored, what, 9 out of 11 games. I'm not saying, you know, that's the be-all and end-all, but it's great when your midfielders are scoring, but at the end of the day, it's going that way as well, defending. You know, he hasn't got the legs to get back. You saw that against Leicester on the fourth goal. He gave the ball away, couldn't get back. And there are going to be more changes. The manager keeps saying it, you know, going through this transitional period. He's got the forwards that I think can do well for United. But I also think he needs to kick him out. He also needs to...
He was talking about the guy in the audience, not Matter, by the way.
Dad.
He was talking about the guy in the audience, not your Matter, weren't you?
No. So it's one of those, isn't it? You know, he's gonna struggle from now till obviously Christmas. But what he needs to do is get everybody back, and then you go from there.
Well, what I talk to you about Adnan Januzaj, because obviously he was a fan's favourite last season. He was one of the few sort of high points of the performances. And what's his sort of like standing amongst United at the moment? Because he seems to have been obviously
frozen out again.
Yeah. So how do you see that sort of?
And especially with there's no Carling Cup games, there's no European games.
All right.
Well, I know, yeah, but there's only weekend games, and we need to win every game. Is he going to play in front of Di Maria? I doubt it. Then you got Van Persie, you've got Rooney up there, but just give him a chance as well. You know, if you don't give the players a chance to show what they can do, they'll never.
But could it sort of almost knock him backwards in the way that last year he was almost a super sub and he was getting loads of starts that spring him on and try and change the game. Where now, if he does get a game, he's not seen as the sort of like the key player. No. I mean, do you think he's got to like step up to the mark and prove his?
Of course he does. You know, your hardest season is your second season. You know, he was fantastic last season. He was absolutely brilliant. But this season's another challenge for him. He's got to get in front of Di Maria and Falcao and Rooney and Van Persie to get a game.
Thanks, David.
And I'm sure he will.
Thanks, David. Bex, have you got anything for us?
This is Neil. And Neil is going to kick off our questions today. You got a question?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Boyle for asking the 3 questions I was going to ask. So there we go. The first one is, I'm really interested in formations. So I'd love the opinion of an ex-United legend, defensive player, ex-Blackburn Rovers. I know Henningberg's not here tonight, but if they...
I know Henningberg's not here tonight. There you go.
I'm just interested in David's view on... We started the season with 3 centre-halves. Yeah. We've been short there. He wanted better wingers. Di Maria's come in. He's gone to 4 at the back. Does it actually matter, or is it actually about the players that play? Because we're trying to fit in Mata, Rooney, Di Maria, Van Persie, Falcao. What do you think, David?
I think that's the hardest thing when you've got so many good players going forward, that it's fitting them all in. And if that means you have to play 3 at the back, then so be it. But when you've played centre half all your life, like Johnny, like Chris, like Phil Jones, and then you're thrown in at right back, like I was, beginning of my career, I was crap playing right back, and I accept that. But at the end of the day, if you're a centre half, then you're a centre half, and you've got to do your job as a centre half. And it's difficult playing a back 3 when you've not really done it. You know, when you, I don't think they're as comfortable as what they are.
Anything else, Bex?
Yeah, we've got another one here. If you'd like to stand up for me for a minute. There you go.
You talked earlier about leaders in the team. Do you think that Rooney is a good captain, or do you think that it's just a circumstance of the fact that we don't have many leaders in the team?
I think he is a leader, but I think he's a wrong... I wouldn't have had him as captain. I'd have had a central midfielder or one of the centre-halves as captain, because... Name him? Yeah. You could have given it to Herrera, come in, just give him that. I just think that Wayne, now, being the captain and being our leader of the team, I just think he's a loose cannon at times to be the leader. And
have you got any examples of that?
Well, obviously today.
Sorry, I was just about to say that. Today is just a prime example of how he can just lose his head and just give it up for the team, like, you know.
Well, he loses anyway. It doesn't mean just because you got armbands, captain's armband on, you're not going to lose your head. You know, it's... I mean, Eric did it, but, you know, that lad deserved it.
Yeah. Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, everybody, yeah.
Ollie did it against Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know, when the lad was running through.
Robert
It was
Lee.
a similar thing, Rob Lee. Yeah. So there are reasons why you do it, but today, for Wayne to do that, it was stupid.
I sort of rewind a bit there, Dave. I sort of rewind 1 second, sorry. When you talk about formations and players, and you said you played right back, but Phil Jones, when he first came from Blackburn, he was touted as being can play anywhere. But personally, I'd rather see him in one position that's his best position. Because I think I'd get his confidence up if he's a centre half or he's a midfield player. But I don't think it's helping him personally.
But Boyle, Phil Jones isn't a central midfield player. He isn't. He's a centre half.
That's
just
what
play
I think,
there, and then get somebody else in to be a central midfielder.
You get any more, Beck? Sorry.
Yeah, I've got another question here. Ben, would you like to stand up for me?
I've just been a bit alarmed over the last couple of games where a refereeing decision has gone against us, against Leicester. Rooney sending off today, and we just seem to have fallen apart straight away. I'm wondering if you think it makes a difference if Van Gaal got off his seat and came to the touchline and started, ordering people about, or does it make a difference from the manager point of view to the players?
I think this got mentioned on Thursday Focus. The fact that Van Gaal just sits there all the way through the game. When you see Mourinho or Pellegrini or the gaffer of last year's gets up and rollicks the lads, and I think Giggsy did it today to a certain extent. And I think, you need that from you need somebody. If it's not going to be a leader on the pitch, you need the leader off the pitch to give directions if you need it. And at times, United need it.
No, I think we've got a response to that here.
It's your show.
Most of our problems have been in the second half. Do you think it's anything to do with Van Gaal's half-time team talk or anything? Like, is there anything he's not saying to get them going in the second half?
Don't know. I don't know. But it shouldn't. Look, when I played here, and there was Brucey, Pally, Keeney, Dennis, Schmeichs, Sparky. They were leaders. You didn't need the manager because it was all said in the dressing room between each other, and it was said on the pitch as well. And you can't see somebody giving orders, giving directions or anything like that. I can't see that.
Right, cheers, Dave. We're going to chat more with David in a minute, but first we're going to go for a short break. So come back and get your questions ready more. Join us in a few minutes after the break. Thanks, David.
All right, welcome back to Red Square Live. Now, competition time. Now, thanks to our friends at Campo Retro, they have given us a shirt. And we are going to get David to sign that shirt. So for your chance to be in with winning that shirt, all you need to do is head over to the Red Square Live Facebook page, find the picture of David and share it. Now, I have joined Pete on the sofa to put some of your questions from social media to David and Pete. But first of all, Pete, back to you.
Thank you, Bex. Well, David, when United signed David De Gea a couple of years ago, he was quite criticised for his early performances. And does that show a bit more like of the faith of the old boss Fergie, putting faith in someone like that? Obviously, big gloves to fill, someone like Van der Sar. And, a lot of Reds, people have been a long time. We all had niggling doubts about him when he first came, but to be fair, he seems to have absolutely just got stronger and stronger.
I don't think there's not many players that come to United and just hit it off straight away. All right, there are a few. But being a goalkeeper, straight away you're scrutinised. Any mistakes, you know what the media are like. They absolutely hate United. And whether it's the newspapers, whether it's the TV, whether it's the pundits, any mistakes that goalkeepers make, they had it with Massimo, Taibbi, all the way through from when we tried replacing Big Pete. So I think now since he's been here, 2, 3 or 4 years, he's come on and he made 2 or 3 saves today. Although he made a mistake for the first goal, he certainly made it up for the save he made in the second half.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because obviously Schmeichel's probably the greatest goalkeeper ever played for United, and when he left United, had we got Van der Sar straight away, although Van der Sar was brilliant, would people have still thought he's not as good as Schmeichel? In a similar way, had Louis van Gaal took over from Ferguson, would it have been is it almost good that you have the in-between? I'm not saying we enjoyed the in-betweens, but you know what I mean?
The In-Betweeners is great.
It's quite a good movie, yeah.
It's a great movie. Pete, when you compare against people like Schmeichs, people like Robbo, Keeney, Scholesy, and people coming to try and replace them, you always think, he's not Scholesy, he's not a Cantona, but they have their own way of, getting on with the job, and that's the way David's done it. And he has come on and he's all right. He makes mistakes, but.
You spoke about being a captain before. I mean, what about a goalkeeper being a captain? Because if someone's in control, I mean, obviously when you had Big Pete,
Big Pete was yeah. But he can then organise the back four, and if you don't give goals away, you don't lose games. Whether David has that presence, that presence at the back that you can command and.
Picture the scene. You're centre half, yeah. You're there. And somebody like Taimi has dropped a howler. And obviously, any goalkeeper can make a howler, but you get stronger.
Yeah.
But you've got Big Pete behind you, you've got Van der Sar behind you, or you've got David De Gea behind you. Obviously, gives you confidence every time someone's coming over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's surely got to be an important part of the sort of like the confidence of the whole team, hasn't it? We used to have such a strong defence back line in the 90s. Yeah. Obviously, the attacking took care of itself, didn't it?
Yeah. But and that's why I keep saying we need to get back to basics of just defending. Whether it's Daley Blind sitting like Keane used to sit, now, I think I mentioned it while I was over in Norway, about Dennis bombing on and Nev bombing on. That would never happen. And leave me and Pally at the back, or me and Ronnie, or Yap and Ronnie, or whoever it was. You'd always keep the other full-back. If Dennis went on, never took it, and you make a solid 3. We don't, we just go bare ass, and that's how we get caught.
Thanks, David. Have you, Bex, anything for us?
Yeah, interestingly, on today's game, so we paid a lot of money for Luke Shaw, and we know players need time to settle in, but the problem seems to be a lack of fitness rather than injury. What's your opinion?
On Luke Shaw?
Yeah.
I can't understand how Luke Shaw could not be fit, coming back from the World Cup. Maybe he'd gone out, Tenerife with the lads' holidays and stuff like that.
Must have been a good night.
But I think he is fit. Maybe he doesn't fit in with Van Gaal. I don't know. But he did a great job today. I don't think he did anything fantastically good, but he didn't do anything bad.
In the previous sort of year, he's been one of the sort of players that a lot of us would have loved to sign.
Well, yeah, and all last season, all you heard was David Moyes wanted to sign Luke Shaw, but that never happened, and he'd started this year, and for some reason, whether it was a system, whether he wasn't unfit, or whether he was fit, he didn't play many games on pre-season, and obviously he's not started. So whether there's a problem with the manager, I don't know.
Any more, Bex?
Interesting. You actually did touch on this a little bit earlier, both of you, but about Valencia. He looks scared out there today. What's happened to him from 2 or 3 years ago?
Bex, I've no idea. I'd love to get hold of him and give him a good shake and say, listen, get on with it. Do what you're good at. Go and take your full-backs on.
That's what's frustrating.
But he never does.
Yeah. It's the frustrating bit is you know what he's capable of doing.
I'll tell you what, United scored a goal beginning of the season, and he'd done the full-back, done an absolute kipper. We scored, and then that was it. And then all he does now is come back in and goes back. Well, if you're a centre-half and your full-back's against him, you just show him inside, and he will, and it just kills the game. Whereas if it was Giggsy or Bex who would actually supply decent crosses, even the crosses he does supply, 80% of them will hit the first man. He doesn't have a shape where you can bend it around players.
I think sometimes you forget how good the Gary Neville-Beckham partnership was. I mean, take it a bit blasé, like, because, all the sort of off-the-field stuff that Beckham got attracted to, in terms of the media following him. But Gary Neville down the wing to Beckham at their peak was unbelievable. I mean, Beckham...
Well, that's the same as Dennis and Giggsy down the left. And, Raphael should be... I don't know whether he talks to him, what he does with him, but he should be organising, or he should be working with him, like Bex and Gaz did, like Dennis and Giggsy did. That's your pairing down the side. You should work together all the time.
We spoke before about sometimes people being, part of the character. We knew that Eric was liable to, although he slipped into the crowd that night, but he's liable to do something a bit silly, as maybe like Keno did sometimes, right? Raphael has got so much talent, but do you think sometimes, in a game like today, he could be easily wound up by opposing players? You think he might snap,
Yeah, of course you would. If I was playing against him, I'd try and wind him up. That's exactly what you do. Same with Wayne. They've got a short fuse. and you know they're going to do something rash. Same with Phil Jones. Phil Jones is exactly the same player. He gets so many injuries going into tackles because he's rash. Just if you stand your ground, you won't get as injured many times. Sure, he gets injured more times tackling than any other thing.
Thanks, David. Back to you, Bex.
Yeah, another one. We won today, but we very much hung on.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, we did.
The end.
We did, but do you know what? I'd rather win and hang on than do what we did last week against Leicester. 3-1 up, 3-1 up, and lose again.
Definitely. So, where are you hoping for the rest of the season to go? Where do they go from here today?
Well, hopefully we can, Top 4. I think if you get top 4, then we'd be delighted. There's teams up there. Obviously, Liverpool were up there last year. They've struggled to live up to their expectations. City, they look strong. Chelsea look strong. So if we can get 3rd, 4th, I'd be delighted with that.
Great. Also, somebody else has actually questioned about Rooney, but you mentioned that earlier. He's such an experienced player. Were you disappointed with what you saw today?
You can't. I mean, like we said earlier on about Eric doing what he did, or when Keane's done what he's done against, Inga Haaland and all things like that. Yeah, things happen, but when your team, we could have lost today, or we could have drew, and that'd have been another 2 points down the drain because of Wayne's rash challenge. Now, if you do see it, or I'm sure you'll all see it anyway, because there's a few tweets saying it wasn't a red card, but it's an absolute blatant red card, and he's going to miss the next 3 games that could cost us more points.
Again, David, I want to go back to something we said before about Louis van Gaal, because although I understand it was a good question from the audience, about being on the touchline and all that, surely Van Gaal's past record every club he's been at, he knows how to manage. He doesn't need to be told, because he's at United and because we're getting beat, run down the side of the touchline. I mean, I remember having a chat with an old school Red, he's in his 60s now, and he worked at United for a long time, and he said to me one day, when City drew 1-1, when Cole should have scored for City to make it 2-1, and he said, Fergie's got to go, Pete. He said, we need a touchline manager like Stuart Pearce. So I often remind this man of this incident and all that. Now don't get me wrong, there was a period where Fergie, I think when we went out in Europe one year, where Fergie used to look like he was just sat on the bench not interested, and then he seemed to get a second win, Fergie, doing that. And don't get me wrong, as a fan, if your team is struggling, you like to see a bit of passion. But personally speaking, David, I think Louis van Gaal, have you met the guy yet? No. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, and it's a bit like with Fergie. When you first meet Fergie, you're a little bit in awe of him, you know what I mean? If he says to you, what time is it? You go, I don't know, go and buy a watch. You've not got a watch. He's got a real presence about him. And I just think that, if we're struggling at the moment, this guy's going to turn it around.
Pete, he will turn it around. Wherever he's been successful. And he's always said, since the day he came in, it'll take 3 months and longer. Because it will. Because, don't get me wrong, when the gaffer left, he took over an aging team. David Moyes did nothing about that. He brought in Fellaini, tried getting Luke Shaw and Herrera. That never materialised. He got the sack, and he's now left with a team from last year that David Moyes should have tried to improve, that he never did. So he's got rid of God knows how many players he's got rid of this year, and there'll be more to leave. And as soon as they leave, he'll bring more players in. It is a transitional period that eventually, I honestly think, he'll turn it around.
Do you think it's more because modern football fans expect more instant success? Where obviously people don't want to say.
I think United over the last 25 years with Fergie have been spoilt by all the success we've had.
Yes.
Prior to all that, United were crap. There was just like a cup team.
Of course we were, yeah.
But when Fergie took over, he had time to change it around.
But you think about the 68 European Cup win, we won the FA Cup in '77. It's every sort of few years. But without that, we wouldn't have been as obviously successful. Yeah. So thanks, David. How's the competition going then? What we're doing?
Right, so don't forget our competition today to win that shirt, the iconic shirt from the iconic '99 season, which we are going to get David to sign. You need to head over to the Red Square Live Facebook page, find the picture of David and share it. You've got till the end of the show to enter, and we're going to be picking the winner at random after today's show. So get entering and good luck.
But we're going to chat some more. Thanks, David. We're going to chat more to David. Have our last break. We're going to go down memory lane with David and Bex as well. So join us in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Red Square Live, our final part of the show with me and United legend David Mays, superstar. David, when we talk about your career down memory lane, joking aside, people often mention this baby, and you, were you taught John Terry how to Photoshop things? But did you get a bit annoyed? Did you get a bit annoyed with John Terry when you saw him doing that? I've been there, mate, I've been there.
Listen, he can do whatever he wants.
Well, clearly, yeah, clearly.
To be fair, I mean, I know I was part of the travel and all that, but truthfully, because I never played in the European, any of the games, it doesn't really mean that much to me, the medal and stuff.
To be fair, though, David, I mean, I'm joking aside, we have a bit of banter about this, but you did have, you know, some significant seasons for United in your career. I mean, yeah, you know, you were part of that treble. I mean, like the first season you joined, obviously, your former team, Blackburn, won the league. And I remember you telling me how gutted you were in that summer when Blackburn won the league. But going to the next season, Cup final against Liverpool, and that season, obviously the winning goal against Middlesbrough, the first goal against Middlesbrough, which took us to the title. And to be fair, you scored. We were talking about how many goals did you score. I think it was about 8 last week, weren't we? But you scored a couple of significant goals. You scored Porto goal, the first goal, the Middlesbrough goal, and also you scored a goal once where no one ever remembers you scoring it. Sellers Park, Crystal Palace, January the 25th, 1995. Why don't people remember your goal?
That's when a little Frenchman did Matthew Simmons in the crowd.
So it quite annoy you when people say, remember that game when Eric jumped into the crowd? You go, I scored.
Well, I actually asked them who scored that goal, and nobody can remember. They'll say Coley or Eric or Sparky or whoever it is, and nobody remembers, so.
Is it true that night after the game that Fergie went into the dressing room and sort of like had to go at everyone and sort of like went...
Well, we honestly thought that the gaffer would absolutely rip Eric's head off. Came in, he had a go at me, had a go at Pally, had a go at Big Pete, Dennis, had a go at everybody. And then you're thinking, well, he must have a go at Eric. And he just turned around to Eric and said, Eric, I'm disappointed. You can't be doing things like that.
High five.
High five, yeah.
Talking of Eric, obviously,
and it was a lot worse than that. When something like, you know, air dryers were all over the place, because he actually had to go at me for, I think Gareth Southgate scored the equaliser, and he actually came in and gave me the biggest bollocking ever, because I should have been marking him, but I weren't marking him, I was marking Richard Shaw. So when...
Richard Shaw, no, that's a name I don't like, carry on.
So when he actually said, well, who's marking Richard Shaw? Well, Eric were marking him. But Eric weren't on the pitch.
So, yeah, well, Eric was marking someone else, you were saying at the time, wasn't he? But talking about Eric, I mean, I remember you telling me his first time, but just briefly tell me about the time when you were rooming with Eric Cantona.
Well, because obviously, you know, Giggsy was with Incy, Dennis was with Keeney, and because I just joined the club, I weren't rooming with anyone. I didn't have a steady room partner sort of thing, so I ended up rooming with Eric one night away from, I don't know who we were playing away, and I got up to the room thinking, right, who am I rooming with? And Eric walks in, and I'm thinking, shit, what do I say? But luckily, it was about 20 to 7, and we always used to have dinner at 7 o'clock, so it was like, hang your gear up, straight back down for dinner, and then had dinner, come back up, I flick on the TV, thinking like, I wonder what Eric wants to watch TV, but it's Coronation Street.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, or whatever it is, yeah, something like that. And I'm thinking, right, so I just like threw the remote to Eric, because I was going to make some phone calls, he wanted tickets. So I rang home, and my brother answered it, and straight away he said, Dad, Dave, who are you rooming with? And like, all of a sudden the TV sort of like goes into like a dull and quiet mute. And I said, Eric, I'm rooming with Eric. And he went, Dad, he's rooming with a fucking king. Well, like I say, that deadly silence, Eric could hear everything that was going on. And I just turned to Eric and went, and he'd do it like, no problem.
Fantastic.
But then get to 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, he says, David, there's the remote control. Good night. And that's pretty much as we spoke all night.
That is absolutely brilliant. But I've just got one other funny chapter from that era. I mean, we mentioned it before, but I mean, when you first actually came to United, there was rumours that you were a bit of a barn pot. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. And what happened when was it Ryan Giggs saw one of your former teammates in
Jason,
Worsley?
yeah, Jason. Well,
Jason Wilcox, was it?
Well, Giggsy lives in Worsley, and Jason Wilcox used to live there. And Jason actually said to Giggsy, he went, how's Maisie settling in? He said, he's mad, isn't he? He went, he's not said a word. It doesn't say boo to a goose. And it's only till that Christmas that we got to the Christmas party when I'd had a few beers. And he saw Jay later on that month, and he went, you're right about Maisie, he's fucking brain dead. He's stupid.
Oh, I could chat all that to Maisie about these stories as I usually do, but we spoke about David's football career, but enough about David's football career. What a shame about talking about my football career. Are you ready to watch this video, David?
Bring this on.
See the way I walked out there, look. Really confident. There's Ben Foley.
There's me scoring.
There's Maisie
Obviously,
scoring.
you know.
I do a really tight volley in a minute. Well, until it actually leaves me full.
That was a good trip, to be fair, Boyle. Is this when you fell asleep on the bench?
This is, yeah, this is when I fell asleep on the bench, yeah. Here we go. Oh, that's not me. That's the guy. Hey, that's the guy from Boyle. Oh, is that? Where's my one?
There he is. That's not the best penalty. This is the best penalty.
We'll just show you your one.
Right.
That's great. Here you go, Maisie. Here's Maisie's. That was brilliant. This was Friday night, wasn't it, Maisie, after we'd been on the base since 7 in the morning?
Yeah, and that's when you fell asleep, like I said, on the bench. There's a lovely picture roaming around Twitter with you like that.
Well, you will.
You fell asleep. Well, you fell
will
asleep
see me next to Ben Foley.
Well, yeah.
But maybe, I mean, Norway, we love going to Norway, don't we? We had 4 years of that same place in Norway.
Yeah.
And we'll go, bring it on again next year.
Well, the good thing is it's like £9 a pint, and you never buy any.
No, but I remember I got you a pint in Kosice in Slovakia in 1997 when it was 10p a bottle, so it's what evens, isn't it?
Oh, so I'm just buying back, yeah?
Yeah.
Even in the airport, you let Chucky buy all the beer.
Yeah, that was in Oslo Airport when it was £10 a pint. Yeah. He earns more than he, and he looks like Roy Keane with his beard, doesn't he? Anyway, back to Bex, what you got for us?
All right, I do have one question. Here's something for you. So, you famously got tortured by Jesper
Blomqvist.
Yes, you did. When he joined United a few years later, did he ever rib you for that night in Gothenburg?
Jesper didn't, but Phil Neville introduced Jesper with his back to me. He did. Really? At the cliff. At the cliff, he brought him in, he said, Maisie, who's this? And obviously I knew it was Jesper. That's all I saw of him.
Respect for Phil Neville for doing that. Phil,
that's about as funny Phil has ever been. But I always look at it that was a positive, because if Jesper hadn't ripped the back out of me that night, then he wouldn't have joined United, and United might have not won the treble. Yeah. See,
there's always a connection. Anything else for us?
Definitely.
Cheers for that, Bex.
Oh, that's all
right.
No worries.
I'll get you back.
Thought I'd throw that in there. United fans obviously don't have much love for Dalglish.
Yeah.
How was he when you left Blackburn, and how's he been since?
Kenny, well, since then he's been fine. I've played in a couple of his golf days. They have the Marina Dalglish golf day for breast cancer, so I'm playing that now and again. But he's been fine. We never really bring up hard times at Blackburn or anything like that. I always remember being in Applejacks, which is Jack Walker's bar in not in Manchester, in Jersey. And Ray Arford and Kenny asked me about, because it was time I was coming out to United when I said I was joining, and they tried to persuade me not to go.
Well, like, had you down over a table? Or?
Yeah. Tried, whatever they tried doing.
Yeah.
And I just said, listen, I'll give me word to Old Trafford, to Alex Ferguson, and I'm joining there. And fair play to Kenny, he turned around and said, well, good luck to you.
On that note, I mean, wasn't it rumoured that, like, Keano had given his word to Kenny, or was that just a myth? And he joined United?
No, I think Keano did the same, but, I think you only get maybe once, twice the chance to join United. And as soon as I knew I was joining United in December that year, prior to when I joined, I heard the rumours and I'd already said, well, whatever Blackburn were offering me, it wouldn't.
Because actually, finally, we spoke about the start of the show, but when you joined United, did Fergie sign you as a centre half in your negotiations, or did he sign you as a versatile player?
No, he signed me to replace Brucey. But because I played right back at Blackburn a few times, and Parks had a dodgy ankle, I ended up playing at right back at times. But because when I was at Blackburn, I had Stuart Ripley in front of me, who would chase back. At United, I had Andrei Kanchelski, so he didn't give a...
You only went back that way.
Yeah, he went forward. But, you know, it's a learning curve and it's how you come out of that. And whether I came out a stronger player or a better player or whatever it is, sometimes you have to have bad times to enjoy the good times.
Thanks, David. That's almost it, actually, but it's been great to chat to you as ever. Back to you, Bex. Have you got competition news?
Yeah, this is your last chance to enter the competition to win the replica shirt from the iconic 99 season. So make sure that you do go on the Red Square Live Facebook page for that, find David's photo and click share to enter. So good luck for that. Just a couple of thank yous for me. Thank you for all your questions off social media. Keep them coming in throughout the week because we do read them all and they help us up for the next show. Our lovely studio audience, thank you very much for all your questions. Very much appreciated today.
Well done, guys.
Also, just very, very quickly, thank you very much to Airstock for your aerial photography, for Thomas for the VT footage of Norway, and of course for Campo Retro for the shirt. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you all for watching Red Square Live, but thanks most of all to David May, superstar. Thank you. See you next week.